Welcome back. Final check-in with you. What's been happening in your sports world? And as promised in the first hour here on Morning Live, we're going to be bringing you a conversation that I had actually on Friday with Bruce Fordyce, winner of 9 Comrades Marathons, 8 of them consecutively. Bruce Fordyce is a legend in the road running community. He also brought ParkRun to the country. He's one of the legends you can measure yourself against in this Sunday's Comrades Marathon Race the Legends event. The Comrades Marathon Association announced yesterday that close to 20,000 entries have been received, which will see runners do one of 5 different distances. I chatted to Fordyce on Zoom, beginning with what he has been doing during lockdown.
The initial 3-week lockdown was quite frustrating, I'm sure, for all of us. So I ran a coronavirus ring around my garden. It took me an hour to run a 5K, doing laps, because the problem is you've got to keep slowing down to go around the tree, slow down to go around the rose bush, that kind of thing. Thereafter, I've kept my running up, and I have, one of the things that, you always look back and think, what was good about it? Well, I've had this book sitting in the back of my mind for a very long time, giving advice to a Comrades novice, their very first run, and using my old training diaries as a basis for that. What did I do for my first Comrades? Anyway, it's been sitting there for years, haunting me, and I got it done thanks to lockdown.
Okay, so there is something for road runners to look forward to. The other thing that people are looking forward to is the Race the Legends virtual run. So just explain to us what your involvement is, other than people obviously going into the archives and comparing their times at certain distances to yours, Bruce.
Yes, I mean, it's very, I'm actually, to be quite honest, not sure how that works. I don't know how you race me, a 1983 me, when you're doing a 5K, but I've entered. That's my original number, and they've given it to me in green, which means they've acknowledged that I've done more than 10. And so I'm going to take part, and I'm looking forward to it, yeah. And I'm amazed that, I think they're close to 12,000 entries.
And what distance are you doing, Bruce?
Nice weather we've had recently, huh? I'm doing the 10K.
Okay.
I thought I'd be bold. I'm definitely not doing the 90. The 45 was never going to be part of it. I did toy with the idea of doing the 21, but I want to run with my family, and 10 is the distance that most people can do and see it as a challenge. 21, you're starting, Valen, 21, you're starting to get a bit serious.
Quite a bad reaction to the fact that Comrades Marathon Association weren't going to give refunds to people that had entered the race, and they weren't going to defer the entries for South African runners like they did the foreign runners. What was your reaction to seeing that kind of response?
I understood the anger, but then I think Cheryl Wynne, the chair of Comrades, wrote a beautiful letter in which she described the situation and why they need the money. And I would be hard-pressed to be bitter if I was a runner who had not had my money returned, because they needed it. They were 9 months down the line. Salaries were being paid, expenses had accumulated, and Comrades, because it's so famous, I think people think it's rich. It's not rich. And it survives year by year with its wonderful sponsors and the entry fees. And they do try and keep the entry fees as low as possible.
Like in the marathon, for example, records have been set quite regularly in recent times, but not so much in the Comrades. Why is that?
Well, if I was being immodest, I would say because the times were simply brilliant and the people who set them. But I think there are a couple of reasons. Remember, there are many, many marathons, and so people have many cracks at the marathon time every year. Comrades only comes up once a year. So once a year, you get a crack at breaking the record. And in fact, it actually only comes up every second year because, of course, Comrades goes up and down. So I had a down run record that survived for 20-something years. It sounds spectacular. But actually, in those 20-something years, there were only kind of 8 or 9 attempts at it. And so if you had a hot day or a tactical race where it was a slow tactics, well, then the record's going to stand. So that protected my record, so to speak, for a while. Because remember, there's a difference between having a go at a record like Eliud Kipchoge did in breaking the 2-hour barrier, where you've got paces and everything, and then trying to win a title. And you speak to any Comrades winner, what is more important to you, to break the record or to win? Because there have been people who've broken the record but not won. And every single one of them will say to you, I don't care how slow my time is, I want to win.
What is your opinion on shoes now that we're talking about records and everybody attributing the records that we're currently seeing down to the technology that's available?
Well, I mean, the technology is astonishing. I'm one of those old school guys who thinks, you know, if you put Eliud Kipchoge in any half decent pair of running shoes, he's going to set a world record. You know, it's about the athlete. Yes, I'm sure the shoes help a bit. But I was thinking, actually, funnily enough, of when we run the virtual Comrades, if I can go and hunt around in my cupboard and find my 1983 pair of shoes that I wore in 83 or 82, and I might even run in them. You know, we still ran very quickly in the old technology. And that book that I was telling you that I've written about my first Comrades back in 77, you must see the shoes we wore then. It's a miracle we had feet left afterwards, but we did, and we ran quickly. So, yeah, it's great to see the technology advance, but at the end of the day, you know, you can put those shoes on a mule. They're not going to run like a racing horse, you know. The racing horses will run well in anything.
How many park runners have you heard from during this time?
Oh, ParkRun, you know, Valen, talking selfishly about myself, if I had to say, Comrades, you could say my Comrades wins were for myself in a way, selfish. If it helped to inspire a few other people to run, that's great. But ParkRun for me is legacy stuff. And, you know, it's 1.2 million people, 225 different venues. We were about to open a whole lot of more new ones all over the country, moving into Zimbabwe eventually. We were in Namibia and Eswatini, and then we got locked down. And so we have been inundated by people saying, my Saturday is just not the same. When is ParkRun coming back? And so we get these inquiries all the time. And the answer to that is when we're allowed to. And, you know, obviously some of our ParkRuns are very large, some have over 2,000 people, and you can't have social distancing at the start of a ParkRun of 2,000 people. So we will probably be one of the last aspects of South African society to open up. And we're not upset about that. We understand it and we want to be responsible. I'd love to say, you know, before the end of the year, we'll be back. But who knows? We have to follow the guidelines. And the only thing I can say to people is we will be back.
And that's how we come to the end of your sport